Hey guys, this is your host Eric. Today we are going to watch sci-fi genre movie called Equilibrium. Spoilers ahead, turn on your subtitle, I greatly appreciate your support. Enjoy the video. The movie starts with scenes of destruction in the dystopian future city-state of Libria. The narrator talks about how a terrible Third World War in the early 21st century changed human civilization. The narrator also says that after the war, world leaders started looking into how to make a new peaceful civilization because they were afraid that humans couldn't survive a fourth one. After a few years, the leaders came to the conclusion that people's emotions are the main cause of destruction and that they should be kept in check. After this, a tetragraviton council in Libria bans all drugs and other things that might make people feel something. Even things that people need every day, like art, music, and books, are against the law. Also, everyone who lives in Libria is forced to get injections or regular doses of a liquid medicine called Pros, which they get from distribution centers called Equilibrium. People who take this medicine lose their feelings and become numb. In the next scene, we learn that the Tetragraviton Council of Libria is run by a leader called the Father who keeps his plans to himself. Even though the Father doesn't talk to many people outside of the governing council, he has made a name for himself as a strong leader by showing his visions on big screens all over them. The Tetragrammaton Council uses its police state infrastructure to force everyone to be the same and live the same kind of life. On the other hand, the Graviton clerics, who are good at gun kata, a deadly martial art that teaches people to predict their opponent's moves when fighting with guns, are at the top of the Librium law enforcement. The clerics are in charge of finding and destroying EC-10 materials, as well as chasing, catching, and, if necessary, killing people who are guilty of having emotions or senses. The scene then moves to 2072, where Vivian Preston, the wife of high-ranking cleric John Preston, is hanged for a senseless crime, leaving John to raise their two children alone. While this is going on, the police find out that a group of resistance fighters is hiding in a building with some very valuable EC-10, also known as emotional contents. When the police officers fail to stop the group, Preston is sent to lead the attack. As soon as he gets there, Preston walks into a dark room with fighters from the resistance. He stands there for a while with two guns in his hands. He figures out how many people are in the resistance and then shoots at them quickly and accurately. All of them are dead within seconds, and he doesn't show any emotion on his face. After the raid, the police look under the wooden table and find a real painting of the Mona Lisa. Preston tells his men to burn the painting, which shocks everyone. After the raid goes well, Preston finds out that one of his co-workers, Errol Partridge, stole a copy of Yeats' poetry. He asks Errol why he did that, and Errol tells him that he'll send it in himself because he doesn't trust anyone else. Preston goes to the Department of Evidence and finds out that Errol hasn't turned in any evidence. Then he goes after Errol to a place where a cathedral has fallen down. Errol talks about how he feels and convinces Preston to help him kill himself. Errol tries to get his gun, but Preston shoots him right in the head, killing him right away. When Preston tries to take his regular dose of Pros the next day, it slips out of his hands and breaks. Then he doesn't take the dose and goes straight to the office to work. Brant, a cleric who wants to advance in his career, is given to Preston as his new partner. Together, they go on their first mission, which is to question Mary O'Brien, a woman who has broken the law. When they get to her, Preston starts questioning the criminal. But because he skips the Pros, his emotional pain starts to get worse. A little while later, he likes the way Mary smells and stops Brent from killing her. Brent doesn't understand what's going on, but he decides to do what his senior says later. Mary is being questioned by Preston at the police station, but she won't say anything about her friends. She also dislikes Preston because he doesn't have any feelings. She says that his life is like a clock that just keeps ticking. The next morning, Preston is very upset by the new feelings that have come up. He pulls off the cover on his bathroom window and looks out at the beauty of the rising sun. He feels strange about the feelings he doesn't understand. Preston runs to his room to take a shot of Pros, but he stops himself. He rather hides the shots in his bathroom behind the mirror so that Preston and Brant can't find them on their next mission to kill the sense offenders. He shows emotion when he tells his team not to kill a dog and stresses that he wants to give it to the medical team so it can be treated. At this point, Preston has stopped using Pros, so he has to act emotionless and robotic in front of his kids and Brant, who is becoming more suspicious of him. Throughout the movie, Preston's actions are similar to those of Errol, to the point where he steals a book from the evidence and gives the same reason as Errol, which is that he is upset by the sense offenders being killed over and over again. Preston goes to see Vice Chancellor DuPont and says that sense offenders should be questioned instead of being killed. DuPont tells him that they are just doing what the Father told them to do and that no one can go against them. In the next scene, Preston returns to the nets to free the dog he saved earlier. He opens the trunk and tries to let the dog out, but it won't leave. After this, Preston decides to take the dog home and puts it back in his trunk. Suddenly, a group of police officers show up and take his keys so they can check the trunk of his car. Preston tells the police that there is nothing in the trunk, but they insist on opening it anyway. Just then, they realize that Preston is one of the top clerics and give him back. When the police officers are almost back, they hear the dog barking from inside the trunk. Then, they make Preston open the trunk. And when they find a dog inside, they ask Preston to get down on his knees and give up. Instead of giving up, Preston grabs their guns and shoots at each of them in a matter of seconds. In the next scene, Brant goes up to Preston and tells him to get ready for another raid in the Nether. After this, the two go on their raid, where Preston finds a group of rebels protesting against the father. As soon as Preston stopped taking pros, he started to feel sorry for the rebels and decided not to kill them. He tries to sneak them to a safer place to hide, but the police officers find out about it. I had no other choice. He pulls out his gun and shoots everyone before they can hurt the people who did wrong. After the fight, Preston is shocked to see that Brant has captured the rebels and has them lined up to be killed. Preston gets there and tries to stop Brant from killing the rebels, and says that they should be questioned the right way. But Brant doesn't listen and says that they have to do what the father tells them to do. He even gives Preston his gun because he thinks Preston might be out of bullets. But Preston gives it back without a second thought. When Brant and the officers kill the rebels, Preston does his best to keep a straight face and walks away. The next day, DuPont asks Preston to come to his office to talk about what happened the night before. Preston tells DuPont a lie by saying that he only wants to gain the trust of the underground rebel group, also known as the Resistance, and completely get rid of them. After the meeting with DuPont, Preston, who is upset, starts looking through Arrow's things. Soon, he finds some pictures in a thin metal case. Inside, Preston is surprised to see a picture of a man named Jurgen, who Arrow used to hang out with often. In the next scene, Preston meets Jurgen in an old school building that has been abandoned. After a short talk, Preston learns that Jurgen and his group are planning to kill the father and upset the balance. Jurgen also gives Preston a polygraph test, and as soon as he hears his name, Preston's responses change. This shows Jurgen that Preston isn't taking his pros and gives him a sense of how Preston feels. Preston tells Jurgen that it won't be easy to kill the father because he is under high security and hasn't talked to anyone in years. But Jurgen says that Preston is the only one who can do what needs to be done. After that, he tells Preston that while he tries to kill the father, he and his resistance group will go to the factories of pros and destroy different parts of them to stop the flow of pros and hopefully bring the Tetragrammaton Council back to his office. Preston is worried as he watches live footage of Mary being put to death. He runs to the room where the execution is taking place and tries to stop it, but the guards tell him that the process has already begun. After this, Preston can't stop crying as he watches Mary O'Brien being burned at the stake in Libya. Brant walks up to Preston while he is crying and takes him into custody. Then, Brant takes Preston to DuPont's office and accuses him of being attracted to a female sex offender and killing the police officers in the Nethers. Preston tricks DuPont into thinking that Brant is the bad guy, which surprises Brant. When DuPont checks the gun that was used to kill the officers in the Nethers, it ends up being Brant's. Then, DuPont tells his men to arrest Brant and take him to the place where people are killed. After that, DuPont tells Preston that the law says his house needs to be checked. Preston doesn't mind that his house is being checked, but he asks DuPont if he can meet the father. But the second one says that the father doesn't meet anyone else. Preston can be seen running toward his house to destroy the doses of pros before the police officers get there. He runs into his bathroom quickly and is surprised when he doesn't find the shots there. Just then, his son Bobby came in and showed him the doses of pros and asked him to hide them in a better place for next time. Also, Bobby says that he and his sister have not been going to pros since their mother died. As part of the big plan, Preston goes to see Jurgen in the next scene and makes a plan to kill the father and bring down the council. Preston calls the council and tells them that he has found the location of the underground resistance groups. This is after the police have arrested the underground resistance members, including Jay. Preston is able to persuade DuPont to let him see his father. Later, the father talks to Preston through a telescreen and tells him that he knew about Preston's sex offense and that Brand's arrest was fake to make Preston think he is safe and that his plan to kill the president can go ahead. Preston is surprised to find out that his father knows everything about him, even though the meeting happened first. It turns out that the vice consul DuPont is the real father now, since the real one died many years ago. When Preston finds out that the council has used him, he gets angry and starts shooting at the officers in the room, killing everyone. He also breaks the screen and tells DuPont he is coming after him. In the next scene, Preston goes on a killing spree and kills all of the police officers who try to stop him. Soon, he walks into DuPont's room and sees Brant and DuPont sitting there. Then, Preston and Brant have a fight, but Preston is too strong for the latter. After a few seconds, he is killed. Seeing this, DuPont reaches for his gun, and Preston also manages to pick up a gun from the floor. The two then start shooting at each other. In the end, Preston wins and kills DuPont. After that, he destroys the father's holographic projector and the devices that spread the father's messages all over line. After this, the underground group sets off their bombs, and when the Tetragrammaton Council realizes that they are in trouble, they set free the people who were being held captive by the resistance crew. At the end of the movie, there is a riot that signals the end of the Liberian government and the end of cruel rulers. We really appreciate you watching. If you enjoy this video, please give it a like. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel with the notification bell because it is really important for us. Thank you.